Syed Maududi was an Islamic scholar, Islamist ideologue, Muslim philosopher, jurist, historian, journalist, activist and scholar active in British India and later, following the partition, in Pakistan. He was born on September 25, 1903 and died on September 22, 1979. Described by Wilfred Cantwell Smith as the most systematic thinker of modern Islam. His numerous works, which covered a range of disciplines such as Quranic exegesis, hadith, law, philosophy and history, were written in Urdu, but then translated into English, Arabic, Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Burmese, Malayalam and many other languages. He sought to revive Islam, and to propagate what he understood to be true Islam. He believed that Islam was essential for politics and that it was necessary to institute Sharia and preserve Islamic culture in a similar fashion as to that during the reign of the Rashidun caliphs and abandon immorality, from what he viewed as the evils of secularism, nationalism and socialism, which he understood to be the influence of Western imperialism. He was the founder of the Jamaat-e-Islami, the then largest Islamic organization in Asia. At the time of the Indian independence movement, Maududi and the Jamaat-e-Islami actively worked to oppose the partition of India. After it occurred, Maududi and his followers shifted their focus to politicizing Islam and generating support for making Pakistan an Islamic state. They are thought to have helped inspire General Muhammad Zia-ul-Haq to introduce Sharization to Pakistan. Maududi was part of establishing and running of Islamic University of Medina, Saudi Arabia. He was the first recipient of the Saudi Arabian King Faisal International Award for his service to Islam in 1979. He was the second person in history whose absentee funeral was observed in the Kaaba, after King Ashama ibn Abjar. Maududi is acclaimed by the Jamaat-e-Islami, Muslim Brotherhood, Islamic Circle of North America, Hamas and other organizations.
Background. Maududi was born in the city of Aurangabad in colonial India, then part of the princely state enclave of Hyderabad. He was the youngest of 3 sons of Ahmed Hassan, a lawyer by profession. His elder brother, Syed Abulala Maududi, 1899 to 1979, would later become an editor and journalist. Although his father was only middle class, he was the descendant of the Chishti. In fact, his last name was derived from the first member of the Chishti Silsila, i.e. Khawaja Syed Qutb-ud-Din Maudud Chishti, d. 527 AH. He stated that his paternal family originally moved from Shisht, in modern-day Afghanistan, during the days of Sikandar Lodi, died in 1517, initially settling in the state of Haryana before moving to Delhi later on, and on his mother's side, his ancestor Mirzatulak, a soldier of Turkic origin, moved into India from Transoxiana around the times of Emperor Aurangzeb, died in 1707, while his maternal grandfather, Mirza Qurbin Ali Beg Khan Salik, 1816 to 1881, was a writer and poet in Delhi, a friend of the Urdu poet Ghalib. Childhood. Until he was 9, Maududi received religious nurture at the hands of his father and from a variety of teachers employed by him. As his father wanted him to become a Maulvi, this education consisted of learning Arabic, Persian, Islamic law and Hadith. He also studied books of Mantiq, logic. A precocious child, he translated Qasim Amin's Al-Mara al-Jadida, The New Woman, a modernist and feminist work, from Arabic into Urdu at the age of 11. In the field of translation, years later, he also worked on some 3,500 pages from Asfar, the major work of the 17th century Persian Sha'i mystical thinker Mullah Sadra. His thought would influence Maududi, as Sadra's notions of rejuvenation of the temporal order, and the necessity of the reign of Islamic law, the Sharia, for the spiritual ascension of man, found an echo in Maududi's works. Education. When he was 11, Maududi was admitted to 8th class directly in Madrasa Furqaniya Mashriqiya, Oriental High School, Aurangabad, founded by Shibli Nomani, a modernist Islamic scholar trying to synthesize traditional Islamic scholarship with modern knowledge, and which awakened Maududi's long-lasting interest in philosophy, particularly from Thomas Arnold, who also taught the same subject to Muhammad Iqbal, as well as natural sciences like mathematics, physics, and chemistry. He then moved to a more traditionalist Darul Uloom in Hyderabad. Meanwhile, his father shifted to Bhopal. There Maududi befriended Niaz Fateh Puri, another modernist, where he suffered a severe paralysis attack and died, leaving no property or money, forcing his son to abort his education. In 1919, by the time he was 16, and still a modernist in mindset, he moved to Delhi and read books by his distant relative, the reformist Syed Ahmed Khan. He also learned English and German to study Western philosophy, sociology and history for full 5 years. He eventually came up to the conclusion that ulama in the past did not endeavor to discover the causes of Europe's rise, and he offered a long list of philosophers whose scholarship had made Europe a world power: Fichte, Hegel, Comte, Mill, Turgot, Adam Smith, Malthus, Rousseau, Voltaire, Montesquieu, Darwin, Goethe, and Herder, among others. Comparing their contribution to that of Muslims, he concluded that the latter's did not reach even 1%. Journalism. Even if he began to get seriously involved in journalism from the late 1910s onwards, writing an article on electricity for Ma'arif in 1918 at the age of 15, and being appointed editor of the leading weekly Urdu newspaper Taj of Jabalpur in 1920 at the age of 17, he also resumed his studies as an autodidact in 1921, notably through the influence of some members of the Jamiat Ulama-e-Hind, by studying the Darsi-Nizami and subjects such as adab, literature, mantiq, logic, and kalam, theology, and philosophy. Maududi got ijazas, certificates and diplomas in traditional Islamic learning, but never called himself an alim in the formal sense because he found the Islamic scholars to be regressive, even though some Deobandi influence on him would remain. I do not have the prerogative to belong to the class of ulama. I am a man of the middle cadre, who has imbibed something from both the systems of education, the new and the old, and has gathered my knowledge by traversing both paths. By virtue of my inner light, I conclude that neither the old school nor the new is totally in the right. In 1924 Maududi was the editor of Ol Jamia, the newspaper of the Jamiat-i-Ulama, an organization of Islamic clergy, a position of extreme importance and influence.